Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. Thanks for coming back to the channel once again. Summer has officially arrived here in Belgium. I've been spending a lot of time working outside this week, but I've also been extremely busy. It's been such an intense and tough week. I mean, I can't complain, but I had some amazing jobs, but extremely much work. That's why this video is rather last minute and probably a bit shorter than usual. Anyways, I wanted to talk to you about budgeting. I recently got a message from a subscriber, or at least from someone who's watching the videos, and she said she finds it extremely hard. She switched from employed status to freelance, and she has a good steady flow of work, but the revenue is always like fluctuating between like 1,000 to 1,500 euros a month, and she finds it hard to budget with a freelance unstable income, right? Because she's used to, you know, having the same amount exactly after taxes that she gets to the account every month, and she can budget her life very steadily, and that is not possible as a freelancer. So I thought I share my approach to that. Of course, this is very individual, but I do a lot of budgeting, a lot of tracking expenses, income, etc., which I think is essential because you don't have a pay slip, etc. Especially now we are kind of in the process of shopping for a house or an apartment, and you have to exactly know, you have to show to the bank what you earned in the last weeks, last years, months, etc. So I would really urge you to track everything you can. Document is a mantra that I always live by. About 4 or 5 months ago, I made a video about financial stability as a freelancer. You can click here if you want to watch that first, because today's video is kind of basing on this one. Instead, I talk more about the financial aspects of, not making sure that a stable flow of income is coming in. And now we look at budgeting. You want to basically do 3 things when you do budgeting. The first one is assessing your must-pay things, so things you cannot live without, right? And just to a heads up, like you might think it's a must-have, like let's say your Netflix subscription or so, but that's not a must-have, right? You can perfectly live without that, fine. So make sure you assess your must-pay expenses. Then in a second step, you can budget your non-essential expenses, what you want to allocate to what's purpose. And as a last step, at the end of the month, you see what is left over, and this you can allocate either into your investments, in your savings account, etc. And then at the end of the month, you are exactly sure what you spent, what came in, and you don't have to worry about whether you overspent or under-earned this month. So how do I do that? I use an app for that called Wallet. I think it's called Wallet by Budget as a whole in the App Store and the Google Play Store. But in the app, it just shows up as Wallet. I use that every day, basically, especially at the beginning and at the end of the month. But I use it on a daily, at least definitely weekly basis. And I think the best is if I show you my phone screen, how I do my budgeting at the beginning of the month and continuously. Okay, I think my screen is recording. Here I have my actual numbers in there. I don't want to show that. So I'm going to start a new fake account to show you how I do it. So there is a button called Add Account. I'm going to click that, and then it asks you what you would like to do in the app. You can do a bank sync, so you can actually synchronize your bank account with the app, give them all access. Then you basically don't have to do anything, right? Because whatever you pay with the bank account will automatically be tracked in the app as well. That makes your life much easier. Me personally, I'm a bit paranoid when it comes to this sort of data privacy. So I would never do a bank sync in this app. But so I would always click, and I don't have a file import because I don't use another app for that. So I would always click manual input, the last one. Then you have to do it regularly, but it also gives you a nice reminder to keep up to date with your finances. For me, I enjoy this part, right? If you don't enjoy it, maybe it's easier if you do bank sync. So I click on manual input. Then the account name, you can maybe just say budget Freelanceverse. Type, let's say general or cash, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? For me, this doesn't matter. The initial value, etc., we keep on 0. You can choose your currency and your color. Let's do blue for the Freelanceverse. Is there blue? Not really. Oh yeah, can go up. All right, and then I create this account. Okay, so now on the top you see I have 2 accounts now. One is blurred, one is the test account, and my expense structure says 0. So this is the start, right? Now what I recommend to you is always budget your expenditures of the current month based off the income of the previous month. I think this is called a zero-based budgeting, so you know exactly what you earned last month, so you can make sure that you don't overspend this month, right? Because it can happen that, let's say you travel for 2 weeks or 3 weeks in a month, so you will earn a bit less in that month, right? Considerably less. So then let's say I travel in April, and then in May, the money from April comes in. So I'm already aware that in May, maybe I need to be a bit careful, or, consciously overspend. It's also fine. If I know that I will anyways earn more again in May, maybe I incorporate it in my pricing that I travel. But for me, it's a good reminder, like if I earn, let's say, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 euro less one month, then I know that next month I will limit my spending a bit, just for myself, to make sure to not overspend that month. So what I would do at the beginning of every month, I would first input my income, and then I have on the budget where it says 0, I have my income of the previous month. And then I will start adding my must pay expenses, because I know how much they are. That's like rent, taxes, social security, insurance, all sorts of things that are recurring and that I have to pay every month. And then I know what else I can freely budget. So let's do that with, example numbers. I'm not going to actually add my normal numbers. If you click at the plus here at the bottom right, you can add an expense or also an income. You can also add templates, as you can see there, like rent that is every month, or the gym, or the insurance, etc. You can add a template, and then you can just click here, and you don't need to add anything else. So now let's add the income from last month's work. So I have to, by default it's on expense at the top, you can see, so I have to go to income, so it changes to plus. Let's say 5,000 this month I earned income. Okay, let's add that. Now you can see my budget on the top is 5,000 that I have to spend this month basically. So now let's add the must pay expenses. That is for sure rent. Let's say, what is rent? Maybe 1,500, but this is now expense. What do we have? Housing, rent. Okay. A couple of ads, because you can also have a paid version without ads. I don't have that. So now my budget is on 3,500 because I paid the rent, right? And let's add maybe taxes. Let's say if I earned 5,000, then let's put maybe 2,000 away for taxes. That's probably on financial expenses. Yes, taxes. That also includes the social security, so let's go with that. Then let's add maybe the insurance. Let's say 50 euros insurance. That's in life and entertainment, I think. No, it isn't. It's in financial expenses, insurance. Okay. What else is essential? Let's say the gym, because you should never neglect health. So let's say, I don't know, 100 euros gym membership. That is in life, and then in active sport and fitness here on top. I mean, this is very individual. I have a couple of more that are reoccurring, but for this example, I'm just going to add that. So now you see your expense structure is 3,650 for the current month, and that you do at the beginning of the month. And now I know I have 1,350 euros to budget for the rest of the month, right? And for that, you can now go on the top right, budgets and goals, and you can create a budget. And that is really cool, because now I can, for example, add food as a budget. The period this month, the amount, what can I, so I have 1,350. You probably need, at least where I live, you probably need around 100 euro a week for food, let's say. So that would be about 400. Can I afford that without 1,350 left? I would prefer to spend not more than 350, so I have 1,000 left on non-food things. So let's do 350 budget, insert. Then we have to choose the categories, and I click food and drinks, because that's where I will track my food and drinks, right? So I click OK, and then account all, that's fine. And I create the budget. So now for this month, I have a budget of 350 euros for food. Now, if I go back to the accounts and I do my grocery shop, right? So let's say tomorrow I go grocery shopping, I spent 89 euros for this week. So I add this here as an expense. Expense 89 euros. I give the category food and drinks, which I have in my budget, right? And I click OK. So now I spent 89 euros. My expense structure raised. And if I go to budget and goals, I see that I spent a certain amount, already 25% of my budget for this month on food. So I have 261 left. And for me, that's, you don't have to exactly stick to that, right? But for me, that's a really cool thing. I have a couple of budget here in this list in my actual account. And, if I miss a date when I don't add it, that's no problem, because I can just go in my banking app. Usually I pay by card or by phone, and there I see all my expenses, and when I have some time I add all of the things that I missed in the last few days, and it updates my budgets, right? So I do that with everything I spend, and then at the end of the month, let's say I have, I don't know, maybe I spent the budget on food, and I maybe spent 700 of the remaining money, and then I have 300 euros left of this month. And this money is your actual saving, right? You didn't spend that, you have all paid, you lived your actual month, because this you do at the end of the month. So you have 300 euros that stay in your account. You can then decide to invest that. You can put that on your saving accounts. If you don't have a emergency fund yet, I would recommend to put that in your emergency fund of a couple of months of your living expenses on your account. If you have that already, then you can easily invest it in ETFs and index funds, whatever. If you save for a house, you can put it on a different account. And that's how I do my budgeting. And make sure that you don't only add it into your app, but you're also setting it apart in your bank account. So the 2,000 euros taxes that I added here, I would put in my bank account on a separate account that I never touch. So at the end of the quarter, when I have to prepay my taxes, I can take it from there, and it doesn't feel that heavy, because it's money that I anyways already budgeted here. And yeah, then you have a bunch of course, now I can't tell you the report because we only started this budget now of the Freelanceverse, but at the end of the year, you have a full report of what you spent on what, where you can save a bit in the new year. If you're like me and you really like these type of graphs, I try to optimize my life based on that. But of course, it takes a lot of work, but I enjoy it. There you go. That's essentially how I budget with an unstable income. So I have a new number that I earned revenue gross, right? And I add it there. And then I basically every month I have a new budget. Now for me, my income is relatively stable. It doesn't fluctuate too much. It's always within 1,000 euro plus minus. That's a relatively big gap already. But I know relatively what my average salary is, right? And that doesn't really change. I think the main takeaway is that it's good to know your must-pay expenses net, because then you know exactly how much you need to earn in order to make profit and you can afford something next to your must-pay, right? That's your minimum that you need to earn, otherwise it will be very tough. But then again, I added food as a not must-pay, right? But you need to eat in a way. But of course, the 400 euros that I budget for food, you can cut that down significantly, right? I just like to spend on quality food. I like to cook a lot. But of course, if you're in need of saving money, you can live on much, much cheaper budgets. So yeah, this was not a shorter video at all. I hope you enjoyed it. This is how I do my budgeting. It's kind of a big deal, I feel like it's constantly something I do constantly. It's on my mind a lot, but because I enjoy it, and I hope this can give you some insights. Look at it as a positive thing. Don't be scared of your finances, because if you let them slip away, it's hard to get a grasp on it again in a few months. Hope you enjoyed the video. I see you next Monday with the next one. Bye bye.